Le Mans.
Le Mans.
Le Mans. Awesome. Yes. Today in the Road Testament, discussion of Le Mans, which is not French for awesome, but if you don't speak French, it kind of is. Today's topic?
What is French for awesome?
Le Mans. Today on the Road Testament, recap, discussion, thanks, lessons learned. Le Mans. Today on the Road Testament.
Le Mans.
You're so not Le Mans. Today in the Road Testament. Le Mans. This weekend was our 25 hours of the 24 hours of Le Mans coverage.
Yep.
And
it took place right on this couch. I watched while I was at Le Mans. I was at the track and I tuned into you guys at least 6 or 7 times.
I'm sorry for you. I rather would have been there. But let's get to the thanks. Leo Parente was up for 24 hours and 56 minutes. His racing knowledge was incredible. What a good guy.
Yep.
When I grow up, I want to be like him.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone else who came and co-hosted. Mike Spinelli, Ray Wirt, Ian
Brown. Yeah.
Wyatt Knox came by, a little messed up at the end, but it was his girlfriend's birthday. And obviously, Josh Vitsa for doing all the tech. It was amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And you want to know something? Thank you to you guys. 26,000 people tuned into this. To be honest with you, I thought we would only get about 3,000.
Actually, thank you for watching. I was so amazed by how much more knowledgeable a lot of the commenters were than we were about a lot of things we were asking questions before we could wiki the answer, people coming up with answers. Yep. If I could afford a huge amphitheater where 3,000 fans come on cots with headsets and we're having a free-for-all discussion, I would do that.
Yeah.
Alas, not to be.
And just to finish up on the 25 hours or 24 hours of Le Mans, it was a learning lesson. It's something we learned from the live stream. We're going to do it again. I don't know when, but we will.
In 11 months and 28 days.
We're going to do it again. Maybe even some F1. Leo and I are going to the 24 Hours of Nürburgring next week. We're not going to do a live stream-a-thon, but we are producing a long-form Fastlane Daily episode from that. I really shouldn't be talking about that. But today we have a much more important discussion, which is related to Le Mans and the actual race.
Well, it's based on Le Mans. We've been talking about safety for weeks.
Yes.
And, we're not here to recap the race itself, but unless you were living under a rock or you live in the U.S. and you got stuck with NASCAR coverage during Le Mans.
Pocono
Raceway. Audi, 2 of the 3 R18s crashed.
Yep.
And
Alan McNish hour 1 and then Mike Rockenfeller hour 9 on Mulsanne Straight. I was 100 feet away from the Alan McNish crash, and holy God, that was incredible.
Well, we're going to talk about these 2 crashes and the lessons learned and safety, because that really is the story of the race. Obviously, their victory is amazing, but the thing that this will be remembered for years from now is safety and technology.
The 2 crashes that really made... This is what everyone's saying, that this year's Le Mans was one of the best of the past decade, and I really do believe that. The R18s, they stole the show. Yes, the #1 Audi won, but the Alan McNish's R18 and then Mike Rockenfeller's R18 were destroyed, but saved their lives.
Well, let's just define the accidents. Okay. In both accidents...
Let's not say who was at fault.
It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Both cars tapped other cars, GT class cars that were a little slower, and both cars went into the wall at unbelievable speeds. Rockefeller's car easily...
It was 190 miles an hour into the wall.
And McNish's car...
It's like 130-ish, 135, yeah.
Okay, so that's what the accidents have in common.
Yeah.
So before we get into the guts of the 2 accidents, I want to say something about Rockefeller's crash.
Yeah.
That crash, according to Kaufman, the driver of the Ferrari, he claimed that the Audi LED brightness was so great that he was blinded. And as a side note to all this, let me just say, someday there'll be auto-dimming mirrors.
Maybe, yeah.
That would resolve that problem.
Besides the point, he should have held his line. We're getting out of the subject.
I'm just going to say, I wouldn't be surprised that was true. Yeah. Secondly, both accidents happened with the Audi coming up on the right, and the cars they struck was
on the left,
just ahead of them. Have you noticed how high the Audi fenders are?
Yeah.
I bet you at those closing speeds that you have a flash where your visibility is blocked of the car you're approaching. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me that was part of it. But the story is the safety.
How they survived. You know, all modern prototypes, they're built around the driver.
Do you believe for a second that these guys could have survived when you saw the accidents? I did not.
Alan's accident, I thought he was screwed up. I didn't think he would be killed. When I first saw Rockenfeller's accident, and I saw Rockenfeller's accident on TV while I was sitting next to Dindo Campello, his face and my face, I thought for sure Rockenfeller was dead.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, in the McNish crash, it just I thought he was dead too. And you can see the silence in this room. All of us suddenly, like, we froze.
Yeah.
But both guys walked away.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the history of racing accidents, it wasn't that many years ago that Dale Earnhardt was killed. Yeah. Granted, he didn't have a Hans device, but
he had his shoulder straps loose. So,
yeah. But no matter how you slice it, the design of a NASCAR car from 5, 10, 15 years ago
to a Lamar prototype
today is very, very different.
Now, the R18s have been in development for, from what I understand, November. They were finally built November of last year, been in design for many years. They've gone through many iterations. Even though this was their second race, Spa being the first, this is actually a late-stage prototype. It's actually, the weight is insane. It's funny how a car that weighs so little has been able to sustain such a crash like that at those speeds.
Let's draw the relationship from this back to what we were discussing a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Physics suggests and has indicated that heavier cars do better than lighter cars in car-on-car accidents, and that makes sense. But not necessarily true as you add airbags and you add, for other safety technologies. But the general consensus, even on the layman, is that an SUV will be safer than a small car because it weighs more. Now we have proven in the harshest way possible, that weight does not equal safety.
No.
Because the Audis weigh less than 2,000 pounds.
But they were designed in a way that they dispersed energy.
And they did this because you had a carbon monocoque cockpit for the driver,
which is very strong.
Very strong.
Which is designed to stay strong. And everything built around it, like F1 cars, is supposed to disintegrate on impact.
And actually, F1 cars certainly use similar technology, although I would much rather be in a Le Mans prototype than an F1 car in an accident at that speed. But if you look at just the way that the energy was dispersed, every single part of those cars that could come off came off like that. And you had just the shell, the cockpit, the drivers literally got up and walked out of.
Rockenfeller's engine was 100 yards away from where the car sat, which is incredible.
Think about what this really means. Most civilian cars, weigh 2,600 to 4,000 pounds. 2 tons. More than twice as much as the car we're talking about.
And people think that them being heavier and solid is safer.
But that's not true at all.
This is a perfect example of how that's counterintuitive to reality.
Because, and I'm not a physicist, think about the logic behind sitting in a rigid box. And then the only thing that's dispersing energy is the airbag in front of you. It's the only thing. There's only so much it can disperse. And, it's like when an IED bomb goes off, soldier's got a helmet, protects his head. There's like an inch between him and his head, and then you got your skull, and then you have your brain. And a guy can walk away from a bomb going off, but still have brain damage because there's nothing dispersing the energy except this much. The fact these guys walked away is the best possible example. This sounds really unfortunate for Peugeot. It's almost too bad for Peugeot they didn't win, because not only did they not win, they didn't have an accident where they could demonstrate their safety technology.
And if I'm going to tie this to Audi's
Ultra program.
So Audi over the past decade has been pushing their TDI program. TDI is actually kind of old news at this point. They started developing TDI engines in the 80s. And now we get TDI in the United States. 40% of all A3s and Q7s now sold in the United States are diesel. So that's a success story. Their new story, their new branding, is Audi Ultra, lightweight technology, which is exactly what they're going for with the R18.
Which
makes these two accidents, and I may sound insensitive, but makes these two accidents use cases.
Well, iconic in technology.
The technology that they're trying to promote, Audi Ultra, was proven in its first example of a race in two accidents.
And of course, lighter weight means better fuel economy.
Of course.
And
sister brand to Audi, Lamborghini, has said we're going to stop focusing on bigger engines and focus on lightweight technology. The Aventador is a perfect example.
Well, I don't think it's a perfect example of anything, but that's a whole other topic.
Okay. But now Audi, with Audi Ultra, is saying, look, we can build strong cars, we can build safe cars with less materials, stronger materials.
If I was like a team strategist, I would have 3 cars and I had one that I picked to and set up a crash just so I could prove to everybody it's safe.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a team strategist.
Whatever. We're running out of time.
Okay. But an amazing race. Congratulations to the Ford GT team. Those guys are out of control.
David Murray.
The Corvette team, awesome. Great to see American teams, pony up at the master level of racing.
Congratulations to Lena, who's the race engineer for Audi. Her first victory, the first female race engineer to win Le Mans.
And our friends Spencer Pompelli and Lee Keane, I
I
hope you come back next year because
Patrick Long,
I all want to see you guys come back next year to Le Mans because you're doing what I wish I could be doing. Signing out.
Good job.
Next week, Gumper to Paula.